we are with the 2025 definitive January Edison tier list. All right, so it's been a hot minute since I've done one of these, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it very shortly. But I just want to go ahead and let y'all know, if you do live in the Southern California area and you do want to participate in some high tier level events, season 4, yeah, we're in season 4 now. Season 4 of the IERC right here in the middle. If you scan that, or middle, if you scan that QR code, it will give you all the information you need for the next season. It is something that happens for, we have 4-month seasons, and at the end of it, we do have a massive tournament for top 8. So if you have top 8 in points at the end of the season, then you get entry into a free tournament to win some nice cards. So like right now, I think first place is going to be walking away with a super dust shoot, and then second is walking away with a unlim ghost stardust, and then we have additional pricing for everyone in top 8. So if you make top 8, you're walking out of there with something. It is also double elimination. Footage of that event will actually be recorded this upcoming Sunday on the 12th. And those videos will be filtering out very, very soon. And then also, if you do live in SoCal, or you live in SoCal, area, we do have over that way the triple threat tournament that we are having 3v3 over at Collectible Exchange. So if you want to get a team together, that is happening on the 25th of this month. So 3 PS5s are first, with additional pricing, I think after 17 players. I think it's in there. I think it's maybe 16 players. After 16 players, then additional pricing. But enough dilly-dallying. Let's go ahead and get into the tier list, which is why you are all here. So we're going to go ahead and start off first with Machina. I think I'm going to put Machina in... like, I think if anything is like on the cusp of being A, but like also just at the top of B, I think it is just like Machina decks. Like the engine is just so strong and it can just like overwhelm you very, very quickly. But if your deck is able, like, just has easy outs, like D-Prison, like if you have D-Prisons, which most decks run, if you're also playing against Blackwings, Icarus Attack really just shuts this deck down. It pops like the Rankos, it pops the Hamsters, it pops the Fortress as it comes down before it can be equipped. And then they also, like, a lot of decks run, or at least value decks are running Oppression. It really just like hinders this deck a lot. But it is a deck that, like, if decks aren't inherently playing those cards, then it should easily just like clean house with like almost any other deck. So I think it's like either at the bottom of A or at the top of B. All right, we're gonna go ahead and talk about my favorite deck at the moment, Amaryllis. All right, I want to put it at S, I do, but the deck just bricks too hard. And I think this one's possibly at the bottom of A, maybe in like the middle. It's a fun deck, it really is. Hopefully Amaryllis maybe gets printed in the Bonanza, or not Bonanza. That's not Bonanza. What's the next one that's coming out? The you guys can let me know down in the comments below. But hopefully it gets reprinted in the next set. I don't think it is. I think this is just going to be a super, and then maybe they might give it like a printing somewhere else. I don't know. But Amaryllis is just a very fun deck. It forces a lot of decks to kind of play differently, because Titanial is a card that just can absolutely just shut down most matchups. It shuts off Icarus Attack, it shuts off MST, it shuts off Dust Tornado, it shuts off like a lot of different things. And it forces you to have to like burn through resources, just chew through, or just like have to chew through like tokens and whatnot. And then also with like the just constant recursion of Amaryllis and the the continuous spell that goes in and lets you special summon. Like this deck I think is probably one of the most combo decks outside of Dragon Turbo. I think this is like easily the second most like combo deck in the format. And when it's popping off, like, I don't think there's really any other deck that can really beat it, because it'll just build a board. Like, it can just end on Stardust, Titanial, a couple tokens, and like an Amaryllis. It can just end on Titanial, a bunch of tokens, and an Amaryllis, or just Titanial and tokens, which like forces your opponent to like have to deal with the tokens first before dealing with the Amaryllis, depending on like what they have in hand. And then they also just like can run a bunch of back row. So I like the boards that the Amaryllis and like Plan decks can really make is just they're a little hard to get through. So that's why I'm putting it in A. I don't think it's B. I think a lot of the innovations that have been coming to it have made it a strong contender in A. I don't think it's nowhere near like top of A, but you know, it is a deck that definitely you have to be worried about. Okay. Of course, you know, if we're gonna go ahead and talk about an A tier deck, we gotta talk about a C/D tier deck. I'm gonna go ahead and put Chainburn in C tier. It's a deck that I play. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and once again, it's one of those decks where like it forces your opponent to have to play in a completely different way than they're used to, which can just immediately just like get you some easy wins here and there. And like you're never gonna top this deck. As much as I love it, anytime I play it, it's just like I'm just here to just ruin someone's day, or you know, just have someone just sit there and just be like, man, why the hell am I playing against this? And then maybe because of that, it just like throws them off for like the rest of the tournament, and then like they don't top. I'm an evil bastard. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and leave it at that. It's a fun deck. I definitely think everyone should at least try it to play it once. And then who knows, maybe there might be some innovations you might be able to go ahead and find to make it a little bit better. I don't know. I'm cooking up some stuff. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and get into a deck that did very, very well. The Fish OTK deck. You know, shout outs to Hamon for going ahead and piloting this deck to second place, I believe it was, at the YCS that recently happened over in Anaheim. He had Ultimate Time Wizard over in Anaheim, and he was undefeated in Swiss all the way up until the last round, and like he was just cleaning house. Now, some people out there are saying, well, this deck isn't like what it's advertised, you know, it's like this deck is a lot more boring than like what I thought it was, because I heard it was popping off. It's a Fish OTK deck that's running the Teva, and you know, that's like the latest iteration of it. And like, you really shouldn't expect anything else from it. You hear Fish OTK, and like maybe you're thinking like, oh, it's like styling, it's making plays. It does make plays, but it requires a lot of setup. It also requires like a lot of just like thinking like 4 or 5 turns ahead and potentially what you can draw. So if you're out there criticizing the deck because you're like, oh, it's boring, it can be boring if it's not your playstyle, but like the display of skill that you have to do, like to just almost get out of any situation that you need to, or just OTK on like random boards where like your opponent's like, I should be good here, and then next you know, it's just like, oh, the game's over and I lost, shit. And then they gotta like rethink their whole strategy, seen as in like the board that they thought that was perfect, they should have been safe, and it wasn't. So I think this deck is a B tier deck, just because it's on the slower side. And also I think it is very pilot dependent. If you're not a good pilot and you can't really see the lines that well, I definitely recommend that you do not play this deck. But if you're someone that's like comfortable and is able to think efficiently a couple steps, like at least like 3 or 4 turns ahead, and like have that plan of like, and be able to like maneuver it on like the spot, I think this is a deck for you. It's a lot of fun. And shout out to Damon once again for going ahead and piloting this deck to like damn near perfection. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go into the next one. You know, we're just gonna go ahead and put gadgets in like C tier. Okay, it's a swarm deck. It is fun. It's just, unfortunately, it loses to Cyber Dragon, as most other machine decks do. You know, with that, we can go ahead and put the Ancient Gear decks in C tier as well, as someone that loves Ancient Gear. And that was like my favorite archetype growing up. It hurts me to say that this deck is ass, mainly due to the fact that Cyber Dragon and Fortress are cards, and immediately just like, it's like, oh, I stopped your push. Special summon Cyber Dragon, respond, and then the board's gone, and you're just like, okay, that's fantastic, wonderful. So you know, yeah. As much as I love machine decks, it just with Sniper Dragon being like in the format, and so like with Fortress, it's just completely unplayable. Though they are fun. Like Gadgets is fun for Swarm, and then Ancient Gear is fun because it's big monsters. Then also your opponent can't like Mirror Force or like deprison or like do any of those like battle traps. I don't really know what deck this is. Y'all can let me know in like the comments below. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in D here because I don't really know what it is, and I'm assuming it's just like the plant, like what is it? Like a plant control deck. I'm like, I think I'm not too certain. Let me know down there, and then maybe in the next one that we'll do in a couple months, we'll go ahead and update it so that way I know what the hell this is. But let's go into a fan favorite, Gemini. All right, I'm actually gonna go ahead and put this one in A tier. It was piloted by Kyle recently. I do have the deck profile on my channel that he piloted it like in first place. I think it was like 30 plus like man tournament, and it was 5 rounds, and I think it was more than that actually. I think even we had broke off in a top cut. But yeah, no, he like piloted the deck really well. He was also trying out some new tech. I forget what the card is called, but the deck looks like it. The deck has always struggled a little bit with like consistency for one, and then also for like if like they flip up like oppression or like which again that hits most decks, but like it really just like lost to itself more often than not. And with his iteration, the deck feels more consistent, and it looks like you're able to at least like consistently make plays and have responses for things that you normally wouldn't otherwise with like other iterations of the deck. It's almost completely different from the list that he had over at RBET Moreno Valley. If anyone remembers Kyle from when he what was it? Took when he met Fraser Smith in the finals for the Ghost, or what is it, the Black Rose Giant card. So there was that. So that list is like completely different from how it was then to now, and I think even now it's like really good. All right, once again, let's go ahead and go with a stinker. Of course, we're just gonna go ahead and put the Flamvels down here. I actually think I'll put like the Flamvel Zombies deck. I didn't even know this was a deck until like I opened up this tier list and I saw it, and I was like, I mean, I guess that's a deck. I mean, I think it's better than just regular Flamvel, just because the zombie package just gives you some more recursion, and you're able to go into like 8s and like 6s like even more easily potentially. So you know, like, the deck's just like the Flamvel deck is just not. It's just not it. It's a fun engine. Don't get me wrong. It's like fun to just throw it and stuff, but it's not necessarily the greatest. We're actually going to go ahead and talk about X-Sabers. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and put X-Sabers in B tier. It's like X-Sabers actually, like as an engine, is really fun to play with. I've been playing the X-Saber Counter Fairies list for a while now, and you know, it's been a lot of fun. Like the recursion that you get with I forget what his name, the one that's in the picture right now, but like just being able to go ahead and get out like your other X-Sabers in the graveyard to special summon them is like actually kind of huge, and just giving you more and more tuners. And then also I've seen, what was it, I believe at the YCS over in Anaheim, there was an X-Saber list, X-Saber player that I can't remember if he got second or if he got like, I know he made top 4. I just don't know if he got second. I think he might have gotten second, and he was cooking, absolutely cooking with X-Sabers. Like he was doing some crazy stuff, and that's probably, I think, like the best performance that the deck has had in quite a while. I know it's had a couple tops here and there at like smaller events, but like for it to be that like do that well, and I think it went undefeated for like a good portion of like the rounds until like maybe like the last 2. The deck has my respect. It's a lot of fun. I mean, Gotham's is just like a big card, and then Gotham's just be able to go ahead and hand rip is kind of disgusting. So, you know, if we're putting that in B, you know, we got to go ahead and put Hero Beat still in B tier. It is just one of those decks that it needs, for one, it just needs to win early. It does. Like, it's just one of those decks that runs out of steam very, very quickly. You do have like the Miracle Fusions, but like you want to push for game within probably like the first 10 turns and try and like win the game then, because if it goes any further past that, the likelihood of you just dead drawing constantly and just not having any more gas and your opponent just being like, oh, okay, I can just win now, and then just push to win, it like the chances just keep on going up and up and up and up and up. But if you're able to win your games within the first like 10 turns, I would say, and like I'm talking about like probably like 10 back, like 5 and 5, maybe like 7 and 7. If you're able to win it within those, you have like a good shot of just making it far, potentially even like winning an event. But like once you start getting to those later rounds, you're going against more and more consistent decks. You know, this deck does beat Black Wings pretty consistently, but then it does lose to Frogs, unfortunately, quite often. So you do have your troubles there. But you know, Hero Beat, it's a fun deck. It's an easy deck to pilot. If anyone is ever trying to get into Edison, I think Hero Beat as well as like Black Wings are like the two decks that are just the easiest to go ahead and pick up and play. Even though like Black Wings is cheaper because Gemini Sparks are actually still a little expensive for like whatever reason. You know, if we're gonna go ahead and put X Sabers in B tier, we might as well go ahead and put the Rescue Cat versions over in C tier. Just because I don't think they're running it in the X Saber lists like the other ones. You could please correct me if I'm wrong in like the comments down below. If they do, I think like the ones that are focused more around getting Rescue Cat are a lot less consistent, which is why I'm going to go ahead and put them in C tier. And the ones that are just more X-Saber focused are going to be in B tier. Dark Gaia, we'll go ahead and put this one at the bottom of C. It is a deck that just goes ahead and just wins, just like on the spot, just OTKs you just randomly. They'll just be like, oh, okay, oh look, what graveyard setup? Dark Calling, flip swing, game, and you're just like, oh, okay. That's really how the deck works. It's very simple. It doesn't take much setup. You know, it's not a consistent deck whatsoever because the deck bricks terribly. But you know, it is fun to just go ahead and just swing in for like a monster that's over like 8,000 attack. It's kind of disgusting. Going from there, we're gonna go ahead into Welladad. I do think Welladad is at the bottom of B tier. It is a fun deck. It's, you know, it does suffer from like the same things like most other zombie decks do, which is it can be quite a bit inconsistent, and it just loses to like DD Crow and Oppression just like way harder than most other decks. So I do think it's a fun deck to play. I played it myself. I think I might rebuild it soon, maybe like try out some different tech in it, or maybe try out some different iterations. I don't know, but I do think it's a fun deck because like the ups, like the on that, like it doesn't have a high ceiling, but like it does have a very, very, very low floor that like just loses you on the spot, potentially like turn 0, and you're just like, oh, I can't play through this. Like your opponent will just like summon a monster and you're like, I don't have anything to clear that, and you'll like draw for turn and you're like, I definitely don't have anything, and then next thing you know, they like game you next turn, and it's just a little unfortunate. Let's go ahead and get into one of the frog decks. You know, we always get to talk about frogs. I believe this one is just going to go ahead and be just, frog monarchs, just like basic frogs. I do still think it is an A tier deck. It's easily like one of the more consistent ones. You know, it has probably one of the best like game ones in like the format, and it's just very simple. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there are some board, like it is a deck that like you do kind of have to think a little bit. I mean, I know it's just like, oh, just tribute summon and then pass, but you know, sometimes you do have to be like, okay, I gotta manage my resources because you only have one monarch in hand, and you keep on drawing into spells and traps, and you have to like really, really use that monarch very, very smartly. After that, let's just go ahead and put in regular Black Wings, still an S tier. All right, it's just a good deck. It's very consistent. And like this deck is like the amount of times you can just misplay and just be like, oh, I'm still perfectly fine. It's just insane. Like the like regular Blackwings like legitimately promotes bad play because like you can just play bad, make some like terrible decisions, and then the deck is just like, it's okay, bro. It's okay. I got you. You're just gonna go ahead and set the Icarus that's in hand, or you're just gonna go ahead and top deck like the Sirocco, or top deck something that like, or top deck Dad, and you're just like, look at that. You just win. And you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Fantastic. It doesn't matter that I just lost my whole board next turn. I just win this turn. You know, it's just unfortunately just one of those decks. I mean, it is funny though that it doesn't just lose to Consecrated Light, like Decree, like very, very easily, and it's just, you know, it's just one of the things that unfortunately the deck loses to. You know, if we're also talking about this, we also got to go ahead and talk about one of the quick draw decks. You know, my personal favorite, Quick Draw Plants. I am going to go ahead and put that at the bottom of B tier. I do think it is worse than Welladad, mainly just due to the fact that the deck doesn't have, it just has too many normal summons, too many good normal summons, and don't get me wrong, like being able to just loop Drill Warrior and just like have a bunch of like negates on board with Titanial, as well as just like all the other synchro plays that you can. It's a fun deck, but it also loses way harder to Oppression and other special summoning limiting cards that I think Welladad does. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and put it at the bottom of B tier. Then we can go ahead and go into Diva Hero. I do think Diva Hero is actually possibly at the bottom of A tier. But I think it's a good deck. Diva decks have fallen in popularity quite a bit. I think it's just, I really just don't know why that has been the case, but I think it's just that it just loses to Oppression a little bit too much, as what where like other hero decks are just like Frog Hero just don't. So, and it is a fun deck. I actually might start playing it again. I used to play it in the past. It's just really like fun to play. Just go Diva, Catastor, Diva, whatever, and then like Miracle Fusion, and I'm like, oh look, I have a game on board, like turn 3, yay! So it is a fun deck. We're gonna go ahead and go into, I believe this one is okay. So we'll just hit them back to back. Dragon Turbo and then regular Dragons. I do think Dragon Turbo is easily the better deck. You know, it just builds up. Like the turn, don't get me wrong, takes like a century and a half for them to do because there is just a lot going on. But the board that it's able to build like right then and there is just makes the games a lot quicker, which I'm gonna go ahead and say is better than regular Dragons, because regular Dragons, yeah, it can just build on the board. It's a kind of grindy OTK deck, but I like the turbo version just because it's a lot quicker per se, and you know, if you have the out, you have the out. If you don't, it's like, okay, go, cool, we'll just go into the next game, and then it's just like, all right, cool, don't gotta worry about it. But I do think Dragon decks, neither of them are going to be an A tier because they are very pilot dependent. I want to put one of them in A, but yeah, no, I don't think I will, just due to the fact that they are very pilot dependent. With that, I think we should just go ahead and go into it. I do think GBs are under Hero Beat, okay? And I know GBs has gotten a lot of popularity lately, and it's, you know, there's a lot of innovation coming to the deck, but the deck still like has struggles from the same stuff that it did before, where it just loses to Blackwings and just loses to anything that like is able to put up a semblance of a bigger monster. And it's just like, it doesn't matter how much you put into it. I mean, don't get me wrong, GBs are going to beat Frogs and they're going to beat plant decks very consistently. And I mean very consistently because, you know, it's just what GBs do. Those decks want to activate monster effects. GBs are just like, no, you're not going to go ahead and activate those. And then we're just going to go ahead and banish your shit and just like loop everything. And then you're just going to lose tempo so quickly. But where it beats those, it loses the hero beat. It's going to lose to Machina. It's going to lose to like any hero deck. And especially any Blackwing deck. It's just going to go ahead and beat them just handily. You know, we're just going to go ahead and put Gravekeepers down here below D tier at the bottom of D tier. It's not a good deck. It's a fun troll deck, don't get me wrong. It's just not a good deck. I think we'll also go ahead and put Diva Zombies, possibly. I think at the top of C, maybe B. I think we can put it there just because it's a deck that does pop off, but I think it just has a lower, an even lower ceiling than Welladad does. Because a lot of the monsters are a lot smaller, which means they lose the deck dev even harder. At least with like Welladad, you do have like Greffers in there and potentially some other stuff. And you also do have like the Malleys, so you can get some like additional playings if you get deck dev. Or this one is just like, oh, you get deck dev? Oh yeah, you just lost. Womp womp. I think we'll just go ahead and go put hybrid. I think hybrid. I'm assuming this is hybrid Blackwings. So hybrid Blackwings is another S tier deck, and I think we'll just go ahead and put Vagi Turbo at the top of A. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, in all honesty, why these are where they are at. I mean, Vagi Turbo is a very, very strong deck. It's pretty consistent, but I do think it just loses to both of these pretty handily, like in the long game or even just in the short game. And then with that, I think we're also just going to go ahead and put Quick Draw, Volcanic Quick Draw. Yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and put it under GBs just because, you know, once again, it's a Quick Draw deck, which means it's going to lose to Chariot immediately. But I mean, you do also have the 1900 beater to go ahead and get over most of the GBs. So like, in all honesty, this is probably like the best matchup and the best like deck to go, like Quick Draw deck to go into against Black, or into like GBs or like Hero Beat or like any of the ones that are above it. But I do think like this matchup right here is actually like very close. It's like maybe like 55-45 or 50-50 even. It just depends on like what each of them draws, and if you're able to have your Volcanic engine aside from your Quick Draw engine, because if all you just see is your Quick Draw engine without the like Volcanic side, you're getting swept. But if you see the Volcanic side more than you see the Quick Draw side, your ability to go ahead and like keep up is going to be a lot higher. I think with that also, we're just going to go ahead and go into I think we'll just go Lightsworn. Yeah, so Lightsworn, I think it is at the bottom of A tier. It is, you know, it's a very high rolly, and if you mill good, you mill good. I believe Joey recently won an event. Actually, yeah, the event where I got the deck list for the Pac-Man deck, he won that event. First in Swiss, and then won the 2 rounds of top 4. And then beat the Pac-Man guy twice. So Lightsworn, it's a very sacky deck. You know, it sometimes it's a Mills, put it in D tier, and then sometimes Mills puts it in S tier. I think bottom of A tier is perfectly fine, exactly where it needs to be. I think we can go ahead and put the Karaz deck at the bottom of C tier. It's a fun deck. I mean, it's just a Monarch deck with Karaz, and just drawing a bunch is too fun. Diva Hero, I think we're gonna go ahead and put this. I think we do put it in B. Actually, what the fuck is the difference? Oh, I think this is okay. My bad. Okay, so this is okay. I got these completely wrong. Okay, so this is Diva Hero Beat. I think this is Diva Hero Beat is better than Hero Beat. And then Diva Hero. Okay, I got these mixed up. I think Diva Hero is like the better deck out of the 3. Yeah, Diva Hero Beat's a lot of fun. It just run a lot of stuff that breaks. And then everything I said for Diva Hero or whatever it is rings true, and this is why it's an A tier. I think Christia decks, I think we can go ahead and put that at the bottom of A tier, or fairy decks. It does have like a really good matchup into Black Wings, which is why I think it should be up here. Having Herald is a very good card, and just goes ahead and sometimes just wins you the game like completely, like outright. And then I think we can go ahead and put Christia Lightsworn above it. I think if I had to rank the decks in order, I think this is how I'd rank them anyways. I do believe they are all A tier. They're all strong decks, each of them having their own appeal. I do see my boy Jabron piloting Christia Sworn to very high heights and does really well with it. But I do think it just lose to just regular JD or regular Lightsworn more often than not. I do think Frog Hero is actually in S tier. I think it is the better. I think it is the last S tier deck. It's just really, I mean, Flager Smith does well with it. Sean and quite a few other people in SoCal do really well with it. Just being able to back up like your hero package with your monarchs, and you know, just being able to go in and out of both engines is absolutely huge. And then the last deck we have, because I do want to try and wrap this video up as quickly as I can, we do have Diva Frogs, which I do think is possibly, I think, at the top of C, maybe B tier. It's a deck that just loses way too hard to deck dev, and deck dev is just being main decked in some decks at this point, and like just one bad deck dev and you're immediately out of the game. Just there's like no counterplay whatsoever. It's just like, okay, cool, it flipped, I lose. Unfortunate. But yeah, that is it for the definitive January 2025 Edison tier list. If you have any, if you have anything against how I have things ranked here, let me know down below. But without further ado, have a good one. Don't forget to check out the IERC over here, and then if you want to participate in the 3v3, go ahead and message Collectible Exchange over there on Instagram or Facebook. Deuces.